Greetings, dear viewers. It's that time of year again, and even though this is a bit late, the wait was worth it. Today we are looking at even more obscure pieces of lost media, some of which coming from my own experiences. Without further ado, let's jump right into the list. Modern Sonic's Spectacular Hanukkah was a series of comedic fan dubs of the game Sonic Generations, uploaded to YouTube shortly after the game's release. The series featured cutscenes and boss fights from the game, with a cast of voice actors dubbing comedic and crude lines over the footage. If this sounds familiar, this same format would later be used by Snapcube for her Sonic fan dub series. However, the creator of the original series, Oblivion709, deleted their channel, with the series vanishing along with it. And despite the fact the videos were uploaded online, all but one of the videos in the series have been lost. When I emailed the creator about this, he confessed that he didn't have any copies of the original series, and unless any other videos have been downloaded and archived anywhere else, the series may be lost for good. The cult hit, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, needs no introduction by now. Most people know of the comics by Brian Lee O'Malley, but when it came to the film adaptation, Universal had a lot riding behind it. In preparation for the film's release, a few things were done. First was an animated short prequel that was out on Adult Swim. The second was the elusive video game tie-in that is getting a re-release in the coming months. But the most obscure was an online avatar creator powered by Flash. This was an officially licensed Flash game where you could make a female or male avatar based on Scott Pilgrim, and you could even upload avatars online for all to see. And despite the fact that the website has been archived on the Wayback Machine, the website 404s every time one attempts to open the website. So until this problem gets resolved or the SWF file gets extracted or uploaded, the game will be locked away forever. Mr. Beast is well known on the internet today for spending and/or giving away absurd amounts of money to whomever in order to make a good YouTube video. However, what very few actually know is that Mr. Beast made more edgy content from 2015 to 2018. Specifically, he had a series entitled The Worst Intros on the Internet, which was dedicated to making fun of less than stellar intros made by small channels on YouTube, typically ones made for a kid's Minecraft channel. The series spanned 70 episodes until being phased out for other better content, but Mr. Beast has since privated or deleted the entire series from his channel. He's never gone on record as to why this was done, but it can be inferred that this was likely done as the series looks bad alongside his newer lighthearted content, and the videos featuring him ridiculing content made by children isn't a good look for his channel today. While a few re-uploads of the series exist, the series in its entirety has not been fully found to this day. DirecTV is an American television service provider, and in 2007, the company launched an all-new channel that hosted a whole slew of video games. These games were comparable to Flash games and ranged from classic games such as Uno to ports of games such as Bejeweled 2, to even licensed games based on television shows. Certain games would either be free to play, be locked behind a paywall or subscription, or be cycled in and out depending on the day. This service was offered alongside their standard television service until its discontinuation in 2013, when all of these games vanished from existence. A small handful of games are listed on DirecTV's website, but the list is incomplete as it doesn't contain games that I remember, such as a Foster's Home game involving the scribbles from one of the episodes, or a Secret Saturdays game. As for the likelihood of these games resurfacing, it's incredibly unlikely as the games themselves were built with the DirecTV's cable boxes in mind, and pulling the assets from that isn't as easy as pulling a ROM or ISO from a cartridge or disc. And really, most of these games weren't anything particularly special. Still, it's quite unnerving that all the work poured into these games could just be wiped away in an instant though. Another similar service was also provided by Dish Network, another television service provider in America. Dish Network provided Disney Channel interactive games through their television packages. Like the aforementioned, these games would either be free or be locked behind a $5 subscription. The service was active from 2007 until around 2011, possibly due to the age of many of the games featured on the service. There's very little evidence of these games ever existing, however. In June of 2004, Cartoon Network had a major rebranding around the middle of the decade with a new logo and a whole slew of new bumpers featuring characters from the channel's original programming. This era of bumpers has been named CN City by fans and ran on the channel from 2004 until 2007. Despite a large number of bumpers being created, an exact number of bumpers is unknown, but a large number of bumpers are currently lost. Specifically, the bumpers from the latter years are rarer than those from 2004 or 5. Shortly after CN City was retired, a new era of bumpers came in 2007. The era featured these white bowling pin characters named Nudes, which is what the era's name is derived from, and these nudes could be customized to resemble characters from shows featured on the channel. And the bumpers announcing the upcoming shows even featured the voices of Greg Cipes and Will Arnett, known for their portrayals of well-known characters. The era came to an end in 2010 with the new Check It branding, with many of the nude bumpers from the era also being lost, especially since a number of them have been recently taken off of YouTube due to the uploader or uploaders being terminated. SpongeBob SquarePants has had many Flash games based on the iconic series, and in 2008, a Flash game was created in anticipation for the upcoming special episode, SpongeBob vs. the Big One. This Flash game was titled The SpongeBob Cartoon Creator, and let players create their own fish characters and drag and drop assets into a scene to create their own limited cartoons featuring the main SpongeBob cast. The game ran until January 2013, where the game was replaced with a page stating that the game had gone offline and only allowed people to watch previously made animations. This remained until July of 2014, where the entire page was deleted as Nick.com rebranded their website. Strangely, another Flash game released in 2017 under the same name and retained many of the features of the original cartoon creator, but was more of a comic creator than an actual animation creator. While this game is still available to play today, the game's original 2008 incarnation has not been seen since its disappearance in 2013. Another similar game was the Nickelodeon Game Builder from 2009. In this game, players could create their own simplistic Flash game levels using assets based on either SpongeBob, iCarly, Fanboy and Chum Chum, the Penguins of Madagascar, or the live-action Avatar movie. Players could choose the level background, music, player character, and add in items such as enemies, platforms, and collectibles into the level, and then publish their finished work to Nick.com. The game has two different versions, with the first version having a smaller frame but had the ability to put checkpoints into levels, while the second iteration had a wider frame but scrapped checkpoints. The game was made inaccessible in 2013, but it still lies somewhere deep inside of Nick.com, but attempting to play the game nowadays causes an error to occur as the site attempts to open this SWF file. However, it's likely that if one extracts the SWF file from the website, the game could be found in full, as programs such as Swift Player can easily play these files. Completing the trifecta of large-scale online Flash games based on fast food franchises from the last video, we have McWorld, not to be confused with the term used for the spread of McDonald's locations in other countries as a result of globalization. McWorld was yet another online Flash game in the same vein as Club Penguin or Neopets, as it allowed the player to create their own virtual avatar and wander around the game's world and play games, go on quests, and buy in-game items using the points they've earned throughout playing the game. Such items included accessories for your avatar, furniture for your treehouse, and even adopting a pet named M-Pals in the game. The game ran from 2008 until 2014, with the MMO features being stripped away, where the game was renamed to McPlay and only retained the minigames within the MMO. Very little information is available about the game online, despite it being around for a relatively long amount of time, and even the Wayback Machine struggles to load the website of the game when it was active. The Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon franchises were the de facto mascots of the original PlayStation in the 90s. In 2004, their publisher, Universal Interactive, struck a deal with Nabisco to create 7 minigames on CandyStand.com based on the two franchises, tying into the then upcoming games Crash Purple and Spyro Orange. By purchasing Nabisco products, you could receive cards with either Crash or Spyro on them that had a code that you could input on CandyStand.com in order to unlock minigames on their website. Of the 7 minigames present on the site, none have resurfaced and cannot be played currently. Rather than using Flash or Java, these games actually used 3D Groove, a popular game engine from the time that allowed for simplistic 3D games to be made for PC. Though screenshots of the games still exist, the only footage that exists is a brief snippet from a commercial. With how many other 3D Groove games have been uncovered over time, it isn't impossible for these games to resurface as well. Plants vs. Zombies was a PopCap tower defense and strategy game released in 2009, and after its runaway success, the series has experimented in online PC games. The first of these attempts was the Chinese Plants vs. Zombies Social Edition. Not only does the game have the 7-lane gameplay seen in the original, but the game also features a top-down isometric gameplay that bears a resemblance to that of Farmville. It could only be played through Renren and shut down in 2014. Another similar game was also present around the same time, known as Plants vs. Zombies Online. This game was an MMO based on Plants vs. Zombies and was developed by PopCap and Tencent Gaming for PC, and featured many concepts seen in the sequel to the original game on mobile. PvZ Online featured a normal mode, featuring the standard gameplay that one would expect, an adventure mode with the gameplay resembling that of the mobile TCG IMMT, and a mine mode where players could use plants to harvest items in the game. The game even featured a town that the player could travel to in order to complete other activities within the game. The game remained active from 2013 all the way until 2018, when it was discontinued. The third and final game, at least for this video, is Plants vs. Zombies Adventures, an online Facebook game. In this game, the player has their own town that they can decorate and maintain. In order to advance their town and obtain new plants, they would have to go on road trips, where they could only use a limited number of plants in each stage. In addition, the game also featured the ability to raid or be raided by other players in the game, with you having to defend your town against enemies in order to keep your town in good condition. The game lasted barely over a year, being introduced in May of 2013 before shutting down in October of 2014. Barely any of these games are remembered and none have resurfaced. In the 2010s, LEGO aimed to break into the online game craze that was on the rise thanks to games such as Club Penguin, Neopets, and Webkins. Their first attempt at this was LEGO Universe in 2010, but that has its own restoration project, Dark Flame. These two games, however, are currently lost with no way to play them currently. LEGO's next attempt at an online MMO would come in the form of LEGO Legends of Chima in 2013. This game was based on their line of sets of the same name. It was their second attempt at creating a successful original IP, like what they were able to achieve with LEGO Ninjago beforehand. The game allows the player to create their own animal character and complete various missions in order to defend themselves from the Crocs, who are trying to harvest all the world's chi for themselves. The game was active from 2013 until being shut down in 2015 due to a lack of revenue. And not only have little to no projects been dedicated to reviving the game, but very little information is available online aside from footage of the actual game. The true successor to LEGO Universe was LEGO Minifigures Online in 2014, amidst the run of LEGO Chima. Minifigures Online featured the player playing as many different minifigures that they could swap out on the fly in gameplay that resembles Diablo. Each minifigure has 2 attacks that can range from melee attacks, ranged attacks, and AoE attacks, and can even be upgraded. The game was shut down in 2016, however, due to a lack of revenue as well. However, this game could likely be easier to revive as the PC versions were downloaded to the PC directly rather than being played in a browser.